Hello, and welcome to this COMP3218 game design and development video from the University of Southampton. We are once again looking at some more of our students' second pieces of coursework. My name is Tom Blount, I am one of the lecturers on the course, and today I am joined by...
So my name's Dave Millard, and I'm another lecturer on the course.
Brilliant. Dave, could you tell us what we asked the students to do for the second piece of coursework?
Sure. So we asked the students to put together a narrative game with an interactive story with multiple endings, where there was a story engine which showed that the game influenced the story and that the story influenced the game. And we gave them 3 fables as inspiration.
Brilliant. So, without further ado, let's jump into our first game. All right, and our first game is Sheepstead. So I can probably guess which of the fables this one's based off of. Nice little...
yeah, so nice title screen name. I like that.
It's nice. Like, lovely sort of like little 8-bit pixely aesthetic. Ooh, increased. We actually got some settings. That's kind of nice.
Oh,
I'm gonna leave them as default for now.
Yes.
And we'll just jump into it, and then we'll come back and tweak those later, maybe.
Day 1. Oh, there we go. This is nice.
This is very nice.
Very Stardew Valley.
Oh, it is, isn't it? Where are we though?
Where are you? Are you there? Are you in bed? No. Did you? Can you click on anything? You've got a pointer.
Walk your dog.
Walk your dog. What else?
Oh, so it's so I don't have a. It's literally a like adventure gamey.
Ah, okay. So you don't have an avatar.
Watering. Oh, we got a bunch of mini games.
Oh my life! They went the mini game route. That's brave.
Click and hold on the plant.
Click and hold on the plant. You can see how much water a plant needs in the color range. Keep the water level in a healthy zone for a few seconds to water the plant. Don't go over or under. Okay.
I mean, it is the fishing game from Stardew Valley, which a lot of people don't like. I quite liked. And it's interesting. So adding so rather than having an overarching game having a bunch of mini games, on the one hand, it makes your development life a little bit easier in a lot of ways, because when you run out of time, you just stop making different mini games.
Yes.
But it does come with the danger, and we'll see if they've avoided this. It does come with the danger of you end up with just minigame, chunk of story, minigame, chunk of story, rather than something more cohesive. Click and hold to drop apples from the red line down onto your sheep.
You do all of the sheep before you run out of apples. They need 3 apples to grow up. Once they've grown up 3 times, they will be full. Watch out for the fox. It appears when the fox timer runs out, press space to make the sheep jump to avoid it. Any sheep hit by the fox will shrink. Okay. Here we go.
So so they've maybe not learned from the first coursework about sort of like building your tutorials into the
jump. Oh, do all your sheep jump when you They
seem to, yeah.
But at least it's there, right? At least, and it's not just a wall of text. It's kind of got a little bit of.
It's almost a wall of text.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a wall of text with some images. Jump, jump.
Apples remaining. Oh, I'm running out of apples.
I kind of. So one of the things I quite like is that they've managed to get that kind of ridiculous mini game feel that.
It very much has like Super Mario Party or Super Wario Party
exactly.
Kind of vibes of just
definitely has those vibes. Yeah.
Is there going to be a mini game for
which
going
is
to
quite
sleep?
nice.
Let's walk the dog first.
Right, so walk the dog.
So here's the thing, Dave. These mini games are great. I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What's the story?
What's the story? I knew you were going to ask me some awkward questions, Tom. I knew it. I thought we're here, we're having a good time playing some mini games, and you're just going to spoil it by mentioning the criteria and what we asked them to do.
Walking your dog seems complicated.
Space W up.
I think that's either or.
I say, do you have an up key? Because I don't.
Do you not have do you not have
space.
an up arrow? I think you've got an up arrow.
Oh, an up arrow. Oh, okay. Okay. Space W and up to jump and avoid glowing red spikes. Shift S or down to duck and avoid glowing banners. Be careful not to hit head-on floating anvils. Okay, so literally, well, all right.
You know,
So you've got to jump
normal,
up.
normal walking your dog stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are you supposed to? You're supposed to avoid the red banners
Avoid the red banners by ducking,
and then jump with the.
and then jump over the glowing spikes.
Okay, and don't hit your head on the anvil. Got you.
There's some
Okay,
spikes.
here comes the. Oh, there you go. Fabulous. I love the little woof. Oh, well, okay. That was straightforward.
That is okay. I guess this is the difficulty's going to go up each day, right?
This is what they mentioned in the thing, right? Yeah. So, okay. So
Yeah,
you've
I
done
guess we
those
gotta
three
see.
things. Was
I
there
was
anything
expecting.
else?
I was hoping for a go to sleep mini game. I think that was everything.
Oh, you hear panthers in the area, apparently.
So that was
So
the
nothing
story.
else. So we've got walk. So we got walk the dog. Nothing in that kitchen space. That's crying out to have something in it, surely. So water the plants.
How is
Yeah, it's got smaller. It's got smaller.
how is any of the things that we're doing impacting this?
You're going to spoil it again. You're
I know.
spoiling it again. Okay, so this is definitely getting tougher. Smaller
Yeah.
bar.
I guess. Yeah.
I'm
what running
happens
up.
if you fail a task? Do you think?
That's it. I don't want to fail one on purpose though. Maybe we'll do that.
No. Well, let's make this run through the successful one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
I
So
might deliberately fail this
Yeah.
one because I'm bad at this one.
it does look quite hard, in fairness. You've got to. Do the apples? I can't quite see. Are the apples bouncing, or what's going on with them?
They bounce a little bit.
Oh,
Luckily, it only ate the
Oh,
small
yeah.
sheep. The small sheep's small,
Small.
so it doesn't get eaten. We've got to feed it 3 apples every stage,
Three-
so we've got to feed it like what 9 apples in total.
oh,
And
3
I think
apples are okay.
seems to be. All right, I'm getting the hang of it though.
Yeah. That's the key.
Controls of this one are really awkward. There we go. Go walk the dog. I'm running out of things to say about the mini games. Should we start talking
Yes.
about the
Yeah.
about the presentation?
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, the mini games are kind of fun, but I guess once you've seen a mini game, you've seen it.
I felt like talking.
So first up
What
was
was the
the
ladder?
presentation. Was the ladder?
Yeah, sorry, there was a glowing green ladder, and I tried to get it, and then I bonked my head on an anvil. Oh, but I can try walking my
Oh.
dog again, so I can keep doing it until
Does
I.
that work?
Yeah.
Well, let's investigate the anvil.
I investigated the
Not
anvil
the anvil,
thoroughly.
the ladder.
already.
The ladder, sorry. The ladder, sorry. So presentation. So that's graphics, audio, controls. I think they've done rather well on this, right? These are the little bit of discrepancy maybe between the design of your home and the design of these minigame spaces, but it's not miles away.
Yeah, and like
they're
the
sort of
dog in the
two
backgrounds,
separate
but
game spaces, but otherwise the graphics are really quite nice. There's nice music.
there's some sound effects
know,
like
Some sound effects used quite,
oh dear.
I mean, like now, like you've got kind of.
I'm not going to spoil the.
So
I'm not going to spoil it. Oh, this is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, good luck. So yeah, so if it was just based on graphics and audio, I think this would be professional. That's a good level.
You know what? I think even the information design's pretty good. Like
Yeah.
like for the
So
mini
we've got
game.
very clear here, very clear instructions what you're going to do.
Got the very clear timer for the.
Maybe they could, in the sort of the main narrative structure, they could do with a bit more of telling us what was going on. because we're all feeling a bit lost. We don't know how many days we've got. We don't know
Well,
exactly what our goal is.
we're gonna have to talk about this eventually, Dave. Like, the main narrative structure is a sentence between days. There's not a lot of story being told here.
I think you'll find that has nothing to do with information design.
Exactly.
Well, actually it does, but yeah. I mean,
but
so
that's my point,
right?
The actual information design's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, we're told how many apples we got. It
yeah.
changes color as we run out. We've got a clear timer of like when the fox is showing up.
So I think that basically puts that clearly in the 70 good bracket. You know, it's a good professional, complete, and effective, right? So
I've got a technique here. If I only feed one sheep at a time, I only have to make one sheep jump.
Oh
no, I accidentally.
So that takes us on to meaningful play. So this is mechanics, controls, and bugs.
I mean, here's a fun question. There's play. Is it meaningful? Are there consequences to failure?
We don't really know.
Well, I mean, I failed the dog one, and it just gave me a chance to do it again. Which is not to say that games have to be like, hardcore permadeath or whatever.
Yeah.
But in a storytelling game, you'd expect there to be some sort of consequences. So now I have to feed the sheep again.
The game notes do say that the story engine is watching you, basically. So it's keeping a track of how successful you're being.
Is it
and
keeping?
They say that will affect the ending.
But why? These sheep are deliberately avoiding these apples. I don't like this.
So
the other games are great.
I think. So look. I mean, a satisfactory would be playable. A simpler game with fewer mechanics, usable controls may have some minor bugs. And a good would be engaging. Reasonable complex game with multiple mechanics, smooth controls may still have some minor bugs. I kind of feel like it's done enough to be at the good level.
I mean, yeah, like the individual sets of mechanics are simple, but because they have a variety of mini games, I think it sort of maybe bumps it up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have enough. The thing is, like, I'm not going to have enough apples to do this now, so there's no point me continuing with this. Oh well.
Yeah. So that takes us on to the story engine, and I kind of feel like we need to get to the end.
I might just sleep for a couple of days
before
and see
we
what
can
happens.
see the. Yeah, I don't know how many days you've got to go.
I'm gonna skip some of them, and I've given up on being successful. There we go. This is the end. Ooh, cutscene.
The cutscene, I like it. Lightning flash, very good. You gaze into the well to see a panther that many local shepherds have been talking about. There it is. You can see it. Some of them have had their entire flock of sheep killed. Many have been forced to sell their farmsteads. Well, there it is, okay. It appears weak and injured. Other shepherds likely found it before you. Okay. Panther looks up at you with indifference. What will you do? Throw stones, throw food, give it a ladder, or do nothing?
That's what the ladder does. So he picked up the ladder while walking the dog.
Yeah. You give it the ladder.
Yeah, why not? Well, I found
you
the
hear
ladder.
A large
I can't
growl.
use the ladder.
You hear a large growl in the night.
I'm gonna water the plants. Oh god, I might not water the plants. I'm gonna water the plants.
Spread water all over the table. Is there a narrative reason that it's getting harder to water the plants every day?
I mean, I don't know about you. My plants seem to get harder to water every day.
Yeah.
I'm more curious why watering the plants is going to impact the ending.
Yes. I can understand that having the dog you can see that interacting with the panther, the sheep and feeding the sheep and having a nice flock of healthy sheep, you can see that mattering as well.
I don't know how much of this clicking is going to come over the mic, but I do apologise because it's just click, 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 click.
I'm not hearing too much. So
Oh,
I can mainly hear the happy sound of drinking plants.
I don't know why this last plant's giving me so much trouble.
So do you just have to keep it there?
Just gotta keep it there until it goes green.
And does that mean if you don't, you can't get out of this mini game? You're just trapped here forever? That's a bit harsh.
I'm getting double vision from staring at this.
Yeah, there you go.
That's not a bit. I'm genuine.
Oh, it shrunk down.
What were we talking about? I've lost all sense of everything that isn't plant.
I think we're talking about the RSI on your fingers.
Oh, that's right. We were saying we need to get to the ending to talk about the story engine.
We need to get to the ending before we can talk about the story engine. I mean, I am intrigued because I kind of.
Oh, I ran out of water. Oh no. Oh wait, no, I'm just not clicking. No, wait.
So at least you can. No, you still got it.
I just wasn't clicking on the plan.
But it looks to me like you're in the zone, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything.
So that's, I guess, part of the information design that's maybe a flaw. Like I can't see where the bottom of the zone is while I'm watering, so I don't know how much leeway I've got before I.
Yeah. It just seems odd, like you're. So for me, it doesn't look like you're failing. It looks like you're succeeding. It's just not working.
No, it's definitely just going out of the zone.
Okay.
This again feels like maybe an instance of where they've tested it themselves and they've gone, this seems fine. I like that, though, they've thought about this, and in their settings menu they've said, what if we didn't make it this hard?
Although we then have to go through the entire thing again, doing mini games for 600 days or however long it's been before we got to the ending. I have to say this is going to be a big hit on YouTube, Tom.
It's going to be great, isn't it?
Man clicks button frantically to grow plant for 2 hours.
I don't think there's a way out.
Critical injury.
Not a way out. Oh no. I am actually stuck in this, so I've got to do it. There's a lot riding on this now.
Come on, you can do it. You can do it. I can't actually hear how fast you're clicking. Is it like super fast?
Pretty fast. The problem is I'm trying to keep it like an even rhythm, and I have a terrible sense of rhythm.
You need a song. That's what you need, isn't it? Like they say doing CPR to staying alive or something. You need that kind of. That's what you want. It has to be so. If you're clicking fast, it might have to be like.
I actually am getting cramped in my hands.
Ace of Spades or something. Yeah.
Right, this feels like I'm in the zone though.
Right. I'll let you concentrate.
Oh, I thought for sure I had it that time. I genuinely might have to quit out of this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get past
Is there a way of accessing the options from within the game?
I tried.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm just going to go to sleep for a bunch and then we'll see what happens. No, I give in. Genuinely have been flummoxed. I'm not going to live this down.
You know. Yeah. Couldn't even water a plant.
Oh dear, I know, it's terrible. Just so that we get to the end of the game, I'm just going to sleep for a bit and we'll go back to the mini. Also to let my hand recover.
You're just going to sleep through it.
Yeah.
Day 3.
I have weeks like this sometime where I just want to go back to bed. I don't want to have to.
Yeah. Here we go. Here's the ending.
No, this isn't the ending.
So
This is the middle bit.
Oh, this is Panther. Yeah.
We don't have the ladder anymore, so hey, that's
don't have the ladder. So
that's game to story.
So throw the food. Okay. We're back here again.
Back to bed. End. Oh, if I just got past that.
Good Samaritan.
Dog walk 0.
Weekly food
Sheepstead 0.
Okay. Good Samaritan.
So those mini
see the
games
list
having an
of
impact on the ending. We convinced?
No, we are not convinced. Let me have a little look at their game notes a minute. They've got a graph that's always helpful. So the panther falls into the pit, and then you've got your choices. You can throw stones, throw food, give the ladder, or do nothing. Right? So what did you do? Throw food?
Yep.
So if on the fourth day you then do all your chores, you get the goody two shoes ending, and if you don't do your chores, you get the good Samaritan ending. But that's if you've done all chores on all days.
Okay, and what's...
So you got the congratulations, you were nice to the panther, but you didn't do any of your chores. Right?
That feels tenuous at best.
If you throw the stones, then again, then that depends on whether or not you walked the dog, right? Because if you didn't, you become an animal hater. So if you killed the panther and never walked your dog, you're an animal hater, and so on. So it does affect it.
Okay.
Although if you give the ladder, then it doesn't affect it. You just get one standard ending. And if you do nothing, then it doesn't affect it. You just get a standard ending. So essentially, if you... two of the endings split depending on your chores throughout the game. Right. Okay, let's dissect this. So we're going to talk about game world to story.
This one's really interesting because the game world obviously has an effect. Wow. Hang on.
Well, you've got a couple of places that has an effect, right? So you've got whether you collect the ladder, that's one.
Yes. You've got
and then whether you've done all the chores, that has an effect down one ending route, and whether you've walked the dog, which has an effect down two ending routes, right? And there are also two endings. So 50% of the endings here, the chores have absolutely no impact on whatsoever, right? So game world to story, there are clearly some examples, but there are ways to go through the whole game with no examples whatsoever. And also the endings do seem sort of tenuous, as you said, right?
Or the link between them, I'm just...
Yeah. Well, that's more like agency, right? So
yeah, that's true.
So, but here we're saying, this is the story engine. Does the actual story engine impact it? So a pass for game world to story would be a few sparse or minor examples of where the game world impacts the story, and a satisfactory would be some examples of where the game world impacts the story, right? And a good would be a number of examples where the game world impacts the story in important ways. So I think part of the problem is that it only affects the ending. There's no kind of interaction.
Because there's no story throughout the rest of the game beyond a single line at the end of each day, right? So there's not much for it to impact there, which is a shame because again, we, as we said a couple of times in this series so far, we want a game that tells a story, not just a story, but consequently not just a game either, right?
So I think that rules out the kind of good level. But satisfactory, some examples of where the game world impacts the story. I think what's putting me off there is that there are routes through the story where so if you go through, so if you do nothing with the panther, you just leave it there, then it's irrelevant what you did.
Yeah.
So I think that's the problem with the satisfactory, is that it's just not. It's not that it's not throughout. Not only is it not throughout the game, but also it's in only certain parts of the game, right? And you can avoid those parts. So So maybe it's halfway between pass and satisfactory,
Yeah,
or maybe it's at the pass level.
I
So
think it's
pass would be a few sparse or minor examples of where the game world impacts the story.
the problem is
Maybe
it
it's between
feels
the
quite
two,
all or
maybe.
nothing. You're right
Yeah.
in that it's just a case of you do the mini game or not. It's not to do with the way that you play it or how well you do it.
No.
It's just, do you keep repeating
It's
it
very
until
coarse.
it's yeah.
It's very coarse. Yeah. But in a normal kind of narrative game, I suppose it would also be quite coarse. It's just, did you say yes to this person or no? It comes down to those kinds of things. So I think probably halfway between the two is fairest.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
And kind of reflects the fact that there are a couple of places where it impacts. Story to game world.
I think just no. There's no, the story doesn't have any impact on the game.
Let's have a look at what they said. So how the narrative impacts the game world. So they explain that their story system uses a finite state machine, and it's a simple approach but works well. They explain that their game's narrative inspired by the Panther and the Shepherds, and every day of the story and each variation corresponds to a state in the story system. So in other words, they haven't answered how the narrative impacts the game world,
So
because I think you're right. I think it doesn't.
it's not like, on day 2 the panther's really angry, so feeding the sheep is like, I'm also surprised that it's
Yeah.
a fox that we're avoiding, not a panther, right? Surely that would be the obvious way
Yes.
to convey
Yes,
that.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So I think just to get this across, what we'll be expecting. So essentially we've got, there are a couple of things going on. So we've got the day that we're on and what we heard about in the night. And we would expect that to then change the game in some way. So the mini games change in some way, or so maybe the first day it is a fox, right? But on the second day it becomes a panther, right? That would be an example. But also I think it would be the one story decision we make, which is whether to save the panther. You'd expect that to affect the mini games on the final day, right?
Yeah, which unfortunately it doesn't seem to.
And it doesn't seem to at all. So that's the really obvious thing to do, is the panther around or not? And if it's still around, it should be doing something on that final day, right? And maybe on the third day it's involved in your games, but it's being negative. But if you save it, it comes back and it's being positive and it's helping you, right?
Yeah,
And then it
exactly.
feels like you're seeing the consequences of your kind actions. And now that your chores are easier because you've got the panther there to scare away the fox or
Scare away whoever's been
the
hanging up
sheep.
anvils.
That's right, yeah. Or making it ridiculously hard to feed your plants. So unfortunately I think you're right. I think this is absent.
Yeah, which is a real shame.
Absent. So this would be story to game world is a story premise, but no serious attempt at integrating the story with the game, and I think that's kind of where we are. But agency, and I think you've started talking about agency before. So this is the number of choices and whether they're interesting choices, which is essentially saying, are they calculations? Are you making informed decisions? Are you being asked to choose by kind of, things which involve internal conflict? In other words, you're not being asked to choose between obviously good and obviously bad, but between two different sorts of good outcome. So what do you think about agency?
So here's the thing. I think a lot of the decisions that we're making in the game are, do we play the mini game or not? And it's not obvious what the
Yeah.
impact of that is going to be or how it
Yeah.
relates at all to the story that's being told.
Yeah.
The one choice that is arguably the interesting one, where panther in a well, do you pick option A, B, or C?
Yeah.
Is the most dramatically interesting choice. But again, I think it's undermined by the fact that it's just a case of how does it relate to what we've been doing? It doesn't have an impact on the mini game. Like the mini games didn't have an impact on that choice, and the choice doesn't have an impact on the mini games. So it becomes kind of just and which ending would you like to see button.
Yes.
Like there's no real reason to pick any of the three options, other than if we're arguably role playing as somebody who is kind to panthers or not kind to panthers. It doesn't. it doesn't hinge on anything else beyond just wanting to see what the ending will be.
Yeah. So I mean, the point of the fable is that if you help the panther, then he remembers, right? And is no longer a pain to you. And if you didn't help the panther, he comes back with a vengeance and he escapes the pit on his own, right? So that's what should be happening, I think, is that over the 3 days, you should be seeing this involvement of the panther in the mini games when it's causing you a problem. And then if you choose to save the panther, it actually, comes back and helps you, or it leaves your mini games, leaves you free, right? But if you don't, then it comes back and is even worse, right? And that would be that would show the kind of level of interaction.
And not only, like that, like something like that would really bump it up into maybe even like I can't remember if it's good or excellent, but like the mechanics then having thematic resonance as well, because the story is directly being told through the games as you play it.
Yeah, but I also think they just set it up because at the moment the problem, and even with what I just said, the problem is like why on earth would you save the panther?
Because otherwise he kills your dog.
So, because if the game's showing the panther's being a pain, the logical thing is not to save it. So yeah, I mean, I think you need to set up a sort of a counter narrative where you're an animal lover, and you're kind of here to tend your sheep and walk your dog and kind of enjoy all this kind of stuff, right? So I think at the moment the disconnection is really problematic. So a pass would be some choices, but only a fewer interesting choices. I think we've got one interesting choice, and it's not set up particularly well.
I'm not even convinced it's interesting because of what I was saying.
Yeah. Poor would be few choices, and player agency is problematic, and that does sound about like what we've just been discussing, doesn't it?
Unfortunately, yeah, it does.
Yeah. Okay. So that brings us on to pacing. So, and again, the game we just outlined, where the panther gets more and more involved and it ends up with this kind of that has nice rising pacing, right?
Yeah.
But
so
at the moment, the game has rising difficulty, but does it have rising dramatic pacing?
To an extent, but as we've already said, there's minimal story as is. But we get a one line at the end of each day where it's some sheep have gone missing, a panther has been spotted. Like there kind of is, but there's not really enough of it, I don't think. In a way, they almost have a climax without having the ascendant pacing. In that after 3 days, there's a panther in a well. Make a choice.
Yeah, but again,
and then it goes
interactive.
And then it goes right back to the mini games as well. So you get this weird sort of climax that isn't at the end of the game.
Yeah. So I mean, it depends whether you feel. So a pass would be pacing is unclear or flat. So I always interpreted that to mean there are things happening, but they don't appear to be increasing in dramatic intensity. A poor would be no serious attempt to control pacing, which I would interpret as nothing's really happening, or it just seems totally there's no pattern to what's going on. I think there is an attempt to control pacing because they've got the multiple days and they've got the events happening. So I think it's better than a poor.
I think it
Do you
might
think
even...
it's achieved the pass, unclear or flat?
I think it might be slightly above a pass even, because there is... The problem is, there's in the tiny bits of story there are, the pacing is going up, like the tension is rising, like there's rumors of a panther, and then at the end we get the panther, but it's just not quite there to sort of like so there's just not enough of it, and the climax isn't climactic enough.
Yeah. So if we put it halfway between a pass and a satisfactory, then that feels like a reasonable place to be. So that takes us on to the storytelling techniques. So this is the, what we got here? We've got the kind of we've got the sort of fade to black one line kind of thing. We've got arguably a bit of a cutscene,
when we actually are introduced to the panther. The question is, do we think they're successful in conveying a story?
There's not enough of it. That's the problem. It's very, very minimal. So our choices here, I think, would be, so pass is sort of a partially successful attempt to use at least one game writing technique. So I think if we feel that they've been partially successful with any of those ones, then we would say it's a pass. A poor would be unsuccessful attempt to use at least one game writing technique. It's definitely not absent, right? They've definitely tried.
No, there's definitely.
But do we feel, if we don't feel they've been successful in those things, then it would be a poor. So I mean, so what do we got? So you got the one line that comes up, which is about as minimal as you can get. And you mentioned about the cutscene with the panther. Do you mean the bit where the pit appears?
I mean, again,
and then you make.
It's a bit of a.
And then you make the choice. So let's just go to sleep now and let's see it. This one here, right?
Like, we get a camera pan. Control is removed from the player for a moment,
and we see the well. Oh, I reckon that counts.
Like, that's
in the well. That's fine.
If it had just cut to this bit, we'd be like, why is there a panther in this room? Is it a dungeon? Is it a world? Like
what's going on? Yeah. So I think
this is also the most text that we get at all. Like, this is where all of the story happens.
So I mean, I think that this would definitely put them at the pass level. Partially successful attempt to use at least one game writing technique.
Yeah, right? I agree.
And I don't think it's fully successful because there's only one instance of it basically, so we don't see much else. But I think it's at the pass. There you go. So that takes us to their feedback. So what they said was that after our game was play tested, it was brought to our attention that the narrative pacing was not very good. The game felt like it did not change much for the most part, right up before the end when the player makes a big decision. So to improve this, we introduced rumours that appear after each in-game day. And that's exactly what we said, right? That's the bit that gives us pacing.
Yeah. Can you imagine if they hadn't had that?
No, it would be almost no narrative at all.
No, yeah.
This helps to increase the tension. We also stopped the usually cheerful music from playing on the final day to create a feeling of suspense.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's all they've got. So it's quite minimal, but I do think that was effective. I think that worked.
Well, I would maybe say it's been somewhat successful.
Yeah,
because there's still
satisfactory level.
Like, it stopped the game not having any story at all. Like, there's so much more they could have done with those, like, even with the little vignettes between.
Yeah. So to be fully successful, we'd have needed to have had more involvement. So actually change the games, basically, right?
Yeah.
That would have been a fully successful interpretation of that feedback. So instead of just giving us a one line saying, "Oh, Panther's about," we start to see some of the evidence. We start to see the panther in the mini games. It starts to be a problem and interfere, and could be the reason for the rising difficulty. I mean, that's the other thing, is they've got that there ready for them, right? Make it harder because there's a panther, right?
Like, keeps trying to lean through our window and swat our plants.
Yeah, or something, right? Or maybe our house is shaking as it's bashing the wall or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But for the other two, for the sheep one and the dog walking one, you could easily incorporate it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it can be an extra obstacle that appears on the dog walking one that's more difficult than the other obstacles, and it doesn't mean you can't also increase the difficulty in other ways to get the balance right, but just integrate it. And I think that would have been a fully successful response. But you're right. I think without that,
it's kind of like the show don't tell, right?
Successful.
Instead of just getting a line saying, you've heard a rumor, like, just have the panther's head pop up from behind this pumpkin. And then we go, wait, what was that? I was looking at my sheep. Was that a panther?
Yeah.
Oh no, drama, tension, excitement, So yeah, so it's definitely had a positive effect on the game, but I wouldn't say it's been fully successful.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Closing thoughts?
Okay. So, I mean, So first of all, I think it is worth noting that although a lot of people reach for mini games, you started this by saying that it's actually quite hard to pull it off, and I think it is, and I think their mini games are not bad actually. I think you get a bit fed up with them by the fourth time, but they've successfully pulled off some kind of fun little interactions. So that's a really positive thing. The real problem here is the integration of the story with the game. So there's just not enough panther before it turns up in the well, basically.
Yeah, agreed.
And they had the mechanisms there. You know, they had the ways of telling the story. They had the rising difficulty to play with. They had all of these things. So that integration would have made a massive difference, I think, to the success of this game.
Okay, let's move on to our next game. All right, and our next game is Race of Destiny. So, again, nice atmospheric title screen, so lovely, crunchy, pixely graphics, nice backing track. We've got instruction.
Instruction is good. Again, always nice to have it incorporated in the game, but at least it's there. Bit worried by background story.
We'll get to that. So, move on, finish this line. Oh, this is for conversations. For the race... Move, jump, double jump. So again, maybe it would be nice if some of this was
on the verge. It's on the verge of being too much to remember, right?
Oh yeah, it sure is. So confidence.
Yeah.
Effects in.
There will be a test. There will be a test later on in the video.
Effects in conversation. Confidence gives you speed +5, dash cooldown time -0.5, and dash speed +1. So speed and dash speed. Courage. I think we'll. Oh, there's it.
Potions of my life.
All right, this
Special
is
effects.
Too much to front load onto a player before they've even seen the game.
Too much.
We'll hopefully it's all going to make more sense when we get it. Oh, hang on.
I'm hoping that I'm hoping at the very least this appears as an info screen in the game as well.
All right, let's get the background story.
A small town famous for its exciting racing. The ultimate sprint challenge draws racers and spectators from far and wide. It's not just about speed and strength, a true test of strategy and decision making. Okay, sounds good. I'm getting a sense of which of our fables it's going to be. Yep, here comes Tortoise. So Tortoise is a determined racer who recently defeated Rabbit.
So again, a lot of text. If I wanted this much text, I could read a book. So I hope their game has a lot more of this woven through.
Eagle's opponent's eagle clone. They could have just done this with a picture of Tortoise, right, and then a line of text about Tortoise. Next, Rabbit.
Sort of Guy Ritchie rabbit. Introduction for the tortoise and the hare.
Yeah, exactly. You can imagine exactly kind of nice graphic of a tortoise in a pair of racing shorts. Okay.
Oh, something like this, in fact.
You're a mere human. You think you can beat me in a race? I've got a perfect record: 3 wins, 0 losses.
That's not a lot of wins. I mean, it is 100% win ratio. But
it is. In fairness, depends who's racing as well. Beat the rabbit. Now it's your turn. So now you're.
Hang on, tortoise.
Sorry, did it say tortoise?
So we're the tortoise. We're the tortoise. Our name is Tortoise, maybe.
Oh yes, our name is Tortoise.
Hang on, let me just drop the sound a little bit because it's quite loud.
Didn't it just say? Oh yeah, okay. All right,
so
yes.
So the tortoise and the hare. We've already had the tortoise and the hare race. Now it's tortoise and the eagle.
Yes. Okay. Who's saying this?
This is the eagle saying this, and you can. So it says, and it also grays us out and highlights the person talking. That I quite like, actually.
Yep, okay. What's your plan this time? Hoping I'll trip over myself.
See, it kind of switches focus depending on who's talking.
Yeah,
I quite like that.
All right. Yeah, this is good. Quite a lot of text again.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's still a lot of reading, isn't it?
Big talk for a bird. I like that. Okay. Not sure if this has any impact. It looks like it's just a some
Oh,
choosing
it
flavor
did.
text.
An icon showed up.
Oh, bold
now,
words.
now, Dave, what was the icon? And tell me what the effects of that icon were.
I I think that you'll find there was some equations. I don't know. I've missed them. I should have taken a photo and I could have referred to it. Okay. So I'm beginning to get the sense of this. So we have a conversation,
and then we're going to have a race.
Based on our choices in the conversation, it alters our stats, and then we have a race based on those stats. Okay.
The eagle graphic is sending me. Oh no, the eagle has not learned from the.
Oh, can you jump?
Oh, that's not very high
that.
jump.
I thought you were just going to be running left to right for a minute then. Yep.
Ow.
You ought to have jumped then.
Yeah, I should have. Shouldn't I?
You didn't see that one coming. This is the surprise I prepared for you. You didn't listen.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So the eagle gets to eat us if. All right.
Nope. Oh, you've reached anywhere. This is heaven. God is a man in a white coat. That figures. Okay. What? Are you ready to rest for eternity? Oh, that's interesting.
This is the most drawn out. Do you want to restart the game button that I've ever seen?
Yeah.
I'm
wondering whether. See, the problem is, I'm now wondering whether they've done something clever with one of these rerun games. So, in other words, does the eagle know that we're here again, or do we know that we're here again? No, I think it's just a restart.
Oh, I could double jump. I thought our jump was a bit small. I forgot that we could double jump.
It did say on that title screen, Tom.
It sure did. Oh, we've got eyeball target.
To be honest, I can't remember it saying, but I'm sure it did. Right.
I do like this music.
Yeah, it's good race music, isn't it?
Dash.
Okay. Well, there's a.
Now, is this a poison potion or is this a good potion?
Don't know. Just jump and get it. Oh, give me a super jump, maybe?
Oh no, never mind.
Oh.
Interesting. Got a different outcome because we died in a different way.
Yeah, okay, nice.
Not really a choice, but quite funny.
It's just a forced accident. Yes. Very good.
Oh dear.
I do hope this is a meta game where we're uncovering this evil eagle.
It'd be nice if this wins counter went up the more we failed. That would be very funny.
Yeah, that would be great.
And that would be game affecting the story engine.
It would be.
I'll give it everything I've got. Anime powers activate.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not ready after all. Okay, so
that's. You think I'm not ready for this challenge?
Yeah, I decided that's a. Oh, but we still do the race.
Hang on. You still do the race.
Still have to do the race.
It's rubbish. Is that a dash you did there?
Now, slow and steady, right? Slow and steady. Double jump.
Yeah.
You know
the eagle's coming.
The sort of parallax in the background's quite nice.
Yeah, no, it's a sort of. I like the little blur effect when you use that dash. You're doing it.
Oh, sticky keys.
Oh, sticky keys. I quite. Do you know the other thing I quite like about this? I quite like the fact that the eagle is faster than you, but pauses, because that gives you.
It's very.
That gives you a really nice. Yeah, a very nice sense.
Oh no!
Oh no!
This is going to be one of those games, isn't it? The music is so loud.
It was the same. I wanted to check whether this is the same text.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it is. Can I?
Because I think it would have been lovely if there'd been a little meta story going on. So there's a the type of games, it's replay games, isn't it? Where
time
essentially you replay the game and the game remembers your previous states. Very often time loops, but not always. Sometimes they're kind of sort of slightly meta commentaries on games or something. And this looked like that. I really hope they were doing that. Here we go. So you've had you had a fell to your death ending where you just went to meet God.
I had a landed on some spikes ending.
Oh no, that was the one we went to God, wasn't it? And then the fell off a cliff was the policeman.
Also, the eagle said, what was it? When I fell on some spikes, he was like, "Haha! Now I'm going to add you to my collection," or something. Policeman didn't get involved for that.
No pressure, but eagle.
Yeah, but also.
Oh no!
The controls are a little bit.
So, I was going to say, I was going to ask you about that because that's a couple of times now you've fallen off what looks like it's a relatively straightforward jump.
Yeah, there's something about the jump.
Is it something sticky or?
Yeah, I can't really tell. Like it's. The best way I can describe it is the jump is a little bit like stiff. Like it sort of feels like, I don't know, not as fluid as. Oh. So jump, double jump, dash. Yeah, we've got all of that. So here we go. So
it's just your dash, cooldown, dash speed, speed.
So we can make the eagle angry, and that makes the eagle faster. So we don't want to make the eagle angry, or is that good?
What is you?
Or is that
if your confidence, it says speed plus 0.5 U. So is that your speed?
Is that our speed? Yeah, 2 times your speed.
But then that makes the eagle 15 times our speed, which seems unreasonable.
But yeah. So this is going to come up in a second. But what choices? what are the choices we've got? Because this feels like a calculation. If there's a right answer and a wrong answer.
Yeah.
Also.
Well, it could be an apples and oranges thing where you're choosing between different good effects.
So white potion, bad. Red potion,
change
bad.
back to base state. Oh, so right, okay.
These things all improve.
So not even the potions are good. So yeah, you want not white or red. Same look, different effects
So one of the conversation options we get is this, which gives us colourful potions. Otherwise, they're all the same.
Otherwise, they're all white, and then it's random. That's not a lot of choice either.
Oh, that's
arguably
we're
gonna have some fun talking about this, I think. But
here's the thing. Arguably, I'm getting ahead of myself. Arguably, that's a very interesting choice because although there's make the eagle faster and make us faster as options, and that's boring. But make us faster or make us know what the potions are. That's interesting.
Yes.
But it's an interesting mechanical gameplay choice because it's all about how do you want to play this game? Do you want to just have good base stats, or do you want to be able to see the decisions that you can make going on? But it's not an interesting story choice.
But in a sense, it's no different than do you want your dash to be faster or do you just want to be faster? It's kind of like I said, it's an apples and oranges decision, right? They're both good.
But that's what makes it interesting.
They're just different types of good. Style? And it's the same with that one. Should we start going through the criteria?
Yeah, let's do that. I'll see if I can finish some of these jumps.
Starting with presentation. So we've got some music. I really like the race music. That's great.
The race music's really good.
Sound effects though?
Doesn't sound like it.
Graphics are a little bit of a mixed bag. I think perfectly fine.
Yeah,
I would say maybe the kind of graphics are workable. Music is workable. Graphics are professional. Other way around. Sorry.
Other way around. Yeah.
Music is professional. Graphics are workable. What about information design?
Well, we've got a dash bar at the top. I'm not sure.
We
There's
don't,
the
we,
there's
we
the
don't we don't have any of our stats or anything reported to us, do we?
no. There's like the pop up mid conversation when.
Oh yes, when something's activated,
But it
which I
doesn't.
think is quite good. But
But it just
doesn't
shows up
stay
for a
around
second, and it doesn't. We
Yeah.
don't get any indication before that, only after it. So maybe like the game is almost memorizing what the different conversations options do,
Yeah.
rather than choosing one based on the merits of the conversation.
Which again encourages the idea of a replay game, where the game isn't actually, it isn't actually to do well on this. It's to say there's a certain configuration of things that would be useful in the race, and you have to figure out what they are and figure out how to get them in the conversation, right? And that's the game, right?
Yeah.
And you do that by looping round and round and round and round. But again, they if they were going to do that, they could have built it up a bit more. So I think generally speaking, I would say that it's not quite professional. It just feels.
No, there's a few bits of polish that I think are lacking, but
yeah, but it's almost there. I mean, I would say maybe between satisfactory and good. And I like things like the animations are really nice, the music's nice. There are definitely some really good bits in it. What about the play, the mechanics, the controls, etc.? You've already said the controls are a bit sticky.
I mean they're okay. They're not unworkable. There's something about the jump that just feels off, but I can't quite articulate it.
Yeah.
And other than like my sticky keys constantly popping up, the dash is fine.
Mechanics, you've got jump, double jump, dash,
potions.
Choosing these options, the potions.
Whether the potions are visible or not.
So you've got a selection of mechanics.
Yeah.
Underlying it's definitely it's definitely playable, right? I mean, that's at the satisfactory level.
Yes.
Would you say it was engaging? Complex game, multiple mechanics, smooth controls?
No, I wouldn't say it's that complex, and I wouldn't say the controls are that usable.
Okay. So it kind of sits at the satisfactory level.
Yeah, it feels like sort of
feels. Yeah. Let's talk about the story engine. Game world to story and story to game world.
The sort of snap back when I sort of change direction.
Yeah.
If I'm going to overshoot something and I turn back, it feels like it launches me a bit too far the other way. I think that's the thing that's catching me out.
Okay.
I'm just trying to justify my gag.
Failure to beat an eagle in a race.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So story engine, we're looking for game world to story and story to game world. Game world here is the race, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
arguably the stats behind the scenes.
Sometimes
and
when
the
we
story
do this,
is
Sorry, go ahead.
So I was going to say just setting out what the game world was. So the game world is this race, right, and your success or failure at the race. But then also, I think we would probably put the stats that are modelled behind the scenes. That's sort of part of the game world, although they're not visible to you.
So I was going to say, a lot of times when we do this coursework, we struggle to sort of differentiate what's the difference between their gameplay and their story. At least in this, there is a very clear distinction between here's the dialogue-y story bit, and here's the gamey bit.
Here's the game, yeah. So if we think about game world to story, what we're saying is, are there ways in which what happens in this race?
That potion just killed me. Fantastic.
That'd be poison.
Oh boy.
Oh, here we go. It's a different death scene though.
Okay. We'll talk about this later as well. But when we're talking about a branching narrative, multiple game overs is not multiple endings.
No. I think it depends. If it's a replay game,
I don't think it is.
Then it's not an ending, right? But it's not really, is it? They haven't. They could have made it. They're so close. Yeah, sorry. So game world to story. So that would be things that happen in the race and how that impacts the story. So that's literally what you were just saying, right? So the only way we've seen it so far impacting is the different ways we die, impacting the end bit. I mean, I would say that is evidence of impact.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Game over things, and the linking in with the story. It's just not particularly sophisticated.
I would also say it's not particularly important. Like the exact text on a game over screen isn't what we would hope for, like an interesting choice. But it's definitely there, and it's definitely having an impact.
Is there anything else though? Are there any other things that happen in the game that impacts the story? Again, the problem is the only bit of story is this final scene.
Yeah, the story is not told through gameplay. The separation between game and story is so dramatic that there isn't. We have bit of story, bit of game, bit of story, not a game that tells a story. So it doesn't have quite the interplay we're looking for.
And I think this is why I'm so desperate for it to be a replay game, because if they did that, then it wouldn't just be story then game. It would be story game, story game, story game, and you've got this feedback loop between the two, which is much more interesting. But as you said, I don't think they've done that. So, I mean, game world to story, if that's the only thing we can think of, a pass would be a few sparse or minor examples of where the game world impacts the story. A poor would be that there's no impact on the story. I don't think that's right. So it's at least at the pass level. So for me, the question is, does it get up to satisfactory? Some examples of where the game world impacts the story. I don't think it does. I think the fact that it's just your manner of your death impacts the end screen, and that's it.
Yeah, I think I would agree.
Probably means it's just at the pass level. Then we got the opposite, the story to game world, so your story decisions. So here you got the stats and the way that your choices turn into changes to your attributes.
But I'll be honest, I haven't really noticed. Yeah,
I was going to say, in principle, this is a good idea, but I think in execution it fails because there's just not that much of a difference, right?
No. The big difference is whether I can tell the potions or not. But beyond that, like, I haven't noticed a big difference in the cooldown speed. Like a minus 0.5 times change doesn't really feel that impactful or meaningful.
So again, it feels to me that if they'd done it bigger, so if it had been like, you've unlocked double jump, you've unlocked dash, right? And actually the potions one is probably big. You do notice that, right? So if you did that, right, and like I said, you could then design the level in such a way that there were routes through the level. Oh, what happened here?
We beat the eagle, and then we reported him for murdering all of the other racers.
I apologize, I missed you winning the race after all that effort.
That's all right, it's immortalized on YouTube. You can go and watch it again later.
I'm sure I will.
So there's
so I think so this sort of saying, if you had these bigger choices, and then again, you'd want it to be a replay thing, so you could go back and learn them, and then but you'd also need the level design to be in such a way that they were effective. So it's like you'd want having double jump to make a significant difference.
To have shortcuts
if you've got double jump,
reach,
there's a route that you can now do, right? So I kind of feel that they've attempted to do it, but it's not worked very well. So a pass, similarly to the last one, would be a few sparse or minor examples of where the story impacts the game world. And I think that if it had been a bit clearer, it would have been satisfactory or even good. But because it's not that clear what the impact is, I think it's just a pass level, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's got that sort of framework for it there, but not quite.
It's so close, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's so close. It just feels like it needs a couple of iterations, really thinking about the design, and then they've got there. This one's going to be interesting. Agency. So the number of choices and whether they're interesting choices or not.
So I already talked about this a little bit in that there's some interesting choices that, like, mechanically, ooh, how do I want to play this game? Do I want to get the potions or risk it? Like, that kind of works. In terms of the story, it doesn't feel like there's a lot, although when we won the race, there was a choice of, do we turn the eagle in for his dastardly crimes, or do we say, I won't tell anyone, but you owe me one? Like, that changes the ending. But so what? It's the ending at that point. It doesn't impact.
Yeah, there's no further game to deal with the consequences, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the problem is in these choices here, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure. It's first of all, it's not clear what the consequence is going to be.
Yeah, until you've
don't
done
know.
it. Until you've tried each of them and played it that many times.
But even then, they're also not very memorable. So even after you've seen it,
there's nothing.
They don't give you the chance to remember it. It doesn't. The choice doesn't come up on the screen with the answer or something, right?
Well,
I feel if they want you to remember what the choice does, they ought to do a bit more to actually create that memory in you, right?
I think
and also. Right. So I think they've tried to give you a number of choices, and there are a number of choices that do affect the game, but they affect it in very minor ways, and I think your agency is very much in question.
Yeah, are they interesting? And I don't.
So again, a pass would be some choices, but only a few are interesting choices.
I feel it's kind of.
Poor is few choices, player agency is problematic. I think the problem is I really like what they've tried to do.
Yeah.
So saying that it's a poor feels like it's penalising them quite a lot for not quite achieving what they were trying to get to work.
Partway between the two, maybe.
But yeah, perhaps that's the best way to do it.
I tell you what, let's pick the other choice and not ask about the missing. In fact, let's ask about the missing races, and then blackmail the eagle. I'm gonna stay quiet, but you owe me.
Okay, make sure you remember it. Eagle did his old tricks to keep Tortoise's winning record.
Okay, so now he helps us in the future. So again, like, this choice has sort of an impact on the story, but then we go to prison. Yeah. No. It says Tortoise enjoyed his new fame. For a while the
police started to investigate.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's being in the prison cell that's the clue, I guess.
Well, yeah, but
both were arrested and their names are ruined forever because of their actions. Okay. Yeah. So I think they've tried to do something really interesting, but they've not differentiated the choices enough. They've not given you enough feedback. So it still feels to me that you're almost clicking on these randomly. I
would disagree in so much as some of them are definitely calculations. So, for example, if I take this, I make the eagle angry, and that makes the eagle faster.
Right. So you've remembered that.
Yeah, and this and if, like, you can kind of glean that from the way it's phrased, although it's not massively different from. And likewise, if I pick this one, then I can see the potions. I would put it maybe between the two, because.
Okay.
But again, because there's sort of mechanical impact. Do I want to rely on the potions? In which case, I need to choose this. It's almost a problem with, like, the information design, which is they don't.
Yes.
It's not clear that that's it, but the actual choice is sort of interesting.
I'm wondering whether this is actually a pass, and what we're talking about is actually the information design problem. That we're not being told in advance, and we're also not being told afterwards in a way that's memorable. But actually, it is an interesting choice in a way. right? And also the replay loops kind of do work. I know it's not designed in the game that way, but so maybe we say it's a pass for agency because of that.
Yeah, I think it's the interesting choices are mostly constrained to how do I want to play this fun race game, and not how do I want to experience this story. There's the bit at the end that's like, do I blackmail the eagle or not?
Yeah.
Which again, interesting choice, but removed from the gameplay. But I think that's enough to sort of bump it up to at least a pass.
Yeah.
We should move on to the next one.
So that takes us to pacing. So we've definitely got sort of a little bit of change in pace in that we have this section where you're just chatting, and then you have the race. That's probably about it, though, isn't it?
I wouldn't say it's ascendant. I wouldn't say that. Even in terms of mechanical pacing, I don't think the course gets more difficult the further we go.
No.
There isn't a climax. There's an epilogue, but there's not a climactic moment where. Even I was even going to say at the end of the race, there's not a big finish line and a crowd of cheering fans. It's just a signpost, and it feels like they could have built that into the environment a little bit more.
So a pass would be that the pacing is unclear or flat. So I think the question is, does the fact that you transition from the dialogue to the race, does that bump that up to say halfway between pass and satisfactory?
I'm not convinced.
So satisfactory is some ascending pacing.
I'm not convinced.
We said that's not the case, right?
No. Oh, what do you think? Because I think
it's tricky. I think kind of it's also difficult in a way because they're different types of engagement as well. So it's not like you're, within the narrative space, the choices get higher in stakes and it all gets more dramatic. That would be rising pacing in the drama. And then in the mechanical game, the game gets harder. The consequences for your mistakes gets larger, right? The challenges get bigger. So so within each of those two sections, that's not happening, right? They're just flat. So all it is a different thing. So I suppose it's maybe not clear to me that the race is more challenging than or is more dramatic than the first bit. It's just a different thing. So exactly. I think I'd agree with you. I think pacing at kind of that pass level sounds about right. They become examples of change in the racing world. So that takes us to techniques. So what have we got here?
How is the story told? It's pretty much
we've got these kind of cutscenes. We've got the dialogue.
It's sort of exclusively told through dialogue, and arguably this, I would almost penalise them for this.
I would put the thing at the end as a cutscene, right? So that's where you get a picture and the text over it. I think that's a cutscene. So they've got at least two. The background story thing that's a bit clumsily done, but I think that they've managed to pull off the dialogue. They've managed to pull off. This whole interaction here is quite nicely put together. We like the way that it flips between the portraits. You can see who's talking. The writing is maybe not as punchy as it could be, but it does the job. And then actually the cutscenes are quite nice, I think.
That's a little
the kind of epilogues.
I was going to make a quip that I've never seen a AAA game that's thrown a PDF at me and said, read this before you can understand the story, but that's not true. I absolutely have seen AAA games do that.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So I think we've got. So a good would be successful use of more than one game writing technique. So if you think that they've successfully got the dialogue system working well, and they've successfully got a kind of cutscene system working, even though it's static images, I think it would be at the good level.
I think you're probably right. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure that they're both fully successful, but I think they're both used effectively enough that you're probably right. Probably that's it. The good.
So to be excellent, we would have to have the mechanics supporting the theme.
And here's the thing: I would say the mechanics work against the theme because the theme is slow and steady, and we're encouraged to go as fast as possible.
Yes. Yeah.
which is admittedly a really tricky fable to do, because the what's the word? The moral is all about slow and steady.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to emphasize that it's the steady part, not the slow part, because to try and retell it in a race game, you don't want to encourage the player to go slow because that's boring. And they kind of bring it across with the eagle constantly stopping and taking rests, but overall, I don't think it quite hits that.
Yeah. I mean, it probably is easier if you're not the tortoise, right? It's probably easier to pitch it when you're the hare. You know, and you have to maybe you're not sleeping, but maybe there are kind of little side quests you have to get done, or something.
Something to actively.
But it's to distract you for a good reason. It's tricky to tell. I think you're right. So I think what that means is that the techniques is sitting at the good level rather than any higher. So that takes us to their feedback. So they said, during the lab demonstration, the lecturer pointed out the ending design of our game is rather simple, only ending with victory or failure, which lacks plot depth and interactivity. So it was suggested we enrich the ending by adding plot dialogues and interactive elements. And at the same time, it was emphasised to avoid monotonous win or loss results with diversified plot development and character interaction. Okay.
Well, I mean,
they said
they made the variety of. I was going to say they made the variety of losses more interesting. I still don't like that. That potion just instantly kills you. And they did change there's not just a you win button. There's some choices made after you win the race, talking about how graciously you accept victory. So actually, you know what? That's had a pretty good impact.
And then they go through their multiple endings, and they say basically, if you fall into a trap. So that all the stuff about the police officer appearing, that was all added in. So they added all those elements in. So story introduction was added to the game title screen to present players with the worldview of the tortoise and the hare. So I think that's one where they weren't so successful.
Yeah,
that's why it's there.
So the adding the sort of post game or post race choices to determine the ending of the game, I think is successful. But I don't think they could have done more to interpret that, to sort of, rather than it just being you've done the race, now do you want ending A, B, or C? If they'd have integrated that a lot more smoothly into the gameplay, it would have had a much bigger impact. But I think it's been a successful change.
So a good would be feedback has been addressed and the changes have been successful. So do we feel it's been? Does it count as being fully successful? Has it worked completely? Or is it sort of halfway between the two, satisfactory and good?
I
think so. I really like those bits. It's probably my favorite bit of this game is the way that you kind of you sort of, through discovering the deaths, you sort of discover this backstory of the eagle and gives you some interesting decisions at the end. I think it's at the good level. Absolutely.
Which brings us to the end of this game and to the end of this batch. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.